welfare, the well-being, the state of workers that are Nigerians in the oil and gas sector. It's a very critical sector given the role it plays in our economy. Well, we saw a video the other day where the TUC president was raising concern about a particular IOC that, in their words, in allegations, saying, look, the way they are treating Nigerians is unacceptable by any stretch of imagination. So I decided to bring him to the studio to maybe expatiate as to what this means. Mr. Festus Osifo is the president of the Trade Union Congress. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Osifo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeffrey. Good evening to you. Good evening to our viewers.
So, Mr. Osifo, we're going to use the oil industry we're going to piggyback on the oil industry to talk about the other industries as much as possible. But that is the space you play in. I saw that video online, and I had to watch what you were saying. But for the benefit of the persons who haven't heard what you were talking about, who haven't even seen, don't even understand what I'm talking about, what exactly is this issue really all about? Because part of what you said, if I heard you correctly, is to say, if this organization doesn't do something drastically quickly, well, Pengassan will mobilize and industrial action may be looming. Mr. Osifo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. You know, in the oil and gas industry, this is one industry that is highly regulated. This is one industry that has come of age. As you could recall, we started carrying out exploration and exploitation of oil over 60 years ago in Nigeria. So when this industry started, it was well dominated by expatriates because it was said as at then that Nigerians doesn't have the expertise to explore the crude. And over the years, all other IOCs, talking about Total Energies, talking about Shell, talking about Chevron, talking about Ajib, and so on, over these years, there are a lot of the activities in these companies have been carried out by Nigerians. A company like Shell, for example, the MD for a very long time has been in Nigeria. Ajib, that Owando just bought, is being manned by Nigerians. In fact, there is no single expatriate today in Ajib. All their operations, from reservoir engineering to production, to processing, to plant operations, are all manned by Nigerians. And the same thing as well, if you come to Total Energies, all the, 99% of the operations of Total Energies are carried out by Nigerians. The same thing in Chevron, the same thing in ExxonMobil, and even Seplat. But there is a particular company, Jeffrey, that is called Sterling. Today, in Sterling, all the operations in Sterling are carried out by Indians. If you go to the operations room, the control room in Sterling, it will amaze you to note that there is no single Nigerian in the control room in Sterling. They are all Indians. So as of today, from our head count, we have over 10,000 Indians that are working in Sterling. How do they achieve this? What they do is this. They will register over 100 to 200 different companies. They will use them to start bring them in one after the other, and all of them are going to accumulate in Sterling. So that has been the challenge. So we did a study, we did the head count, and we realized that no, these numbers are too much across all operations, even up to communication. If you come to the communication department, the head of the communication, the deputy head, all of them, their communication department, it's Indian. You know how we even knew about the communication? After we did that rally and the protest, it was a journalist like you that wanted to balance the information and sent a note to them that's telling, oh, this is what Pengassan is saying. We want you to react. They said, okay, this is a statement. They said, okay, no, somebody should sign it. They confessed to them that everybody in the department, that if they sign it, that they are all Indians, that there is no Nigerian to sign it. So they don't want to justify what we were saying. This was confirmed to me by a particular journalist. So that clearly shows that this is what has been happening. Jeffrey, all we've been saying is that in a country where we don't have jobs, in a country where graduates are strolling around the street, you are bringing Indians to do jobs that are not technical. It will amaze you to note that jobs like vulcanizers, jobs like gate men, even cooks that are cooking Nigerian food, they are Indians. It is that bad. So all we are saying is that these companies, they have violated all Nigerian rules, all Nigerian laws, and that they must send these people packing. And we are very serious about this. We have Nigerians that are doing this job. Jeffrey, Sterling, their operations is not even as complicated as the deep offshore operations that Shell is doing in Bonga, that is manned by all Nigerians. Their operations are not as complex as Agbami of Chevron, manned by Nigerians, or Akpo or Egina of Total, that is manned by Nigerians.
So Mr. Sifo,
that is the conundrum.
Mr. Sifo, so they are not here, and I hope they are going to respond somehow, one way or the other, to these issues you've raised and some of the allegations you've raised. The company, where do they operate in Nigeria, and do the authorities, the regulator, who is supposed to regulate these activities, is it the NMDPRA or NUPROC? Because there's no way this can happen without some institutional complicity or awareness. I don't know, just help us out here.
Yes. So first, this company, their major operation as of today is around the Niger Delta. They are majorly situated in Kwale. So most of their productions happen around the Kwale area. So they will do badging, and from there, they will transfer it to their terminals. Yes, they operate in the upstream majorly. And in the upstream, it ought to be regulated by NUPROC. And NUPROC regulating it. You also have NCDNB, the Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring Board. They are the ones who ought to give expatriate quota when it comes to the oil and gas. So from our findings, we have engaged these regulators. We have engaged the NUPROC. We have also had interaction with the leadership or the management of NCDNB. This was what they told us. NCDNB said last year that they only gave three expatriate quota to these people. But that what they do, I mean, from our findings, we now went to Ministry of Interior. What we discover is that people are doing this as business. So in oil and gas, NCDNB is supposed to give the quota, the allocation, but they will circumvent the process. Maybe because they felt that NCDNB is stricter, they will circumvent the process. They will go to the Ministry of Interior and go and obtain that quota. And every single application that they have submitted to Ministry of Interior has been approved. So that is where the conundrum actually is. So they are circumventing the process, as shunting the NCDNB and going to the Ministry of Interior. It's actually the Ministry of Interior that gives them the quota. And that is the challenge that we are having today.
All right. So I know just now, as you said, and I remember that I have heard a report of the Sterling company, and I hope they will respond at some point, whether an official statement or something, about their activities in Akwa Ibom, Eastern Obolo, where the governor, I understand, has set up a tripartite committee. Because of what is going on, I understand they were supposed to occupy 1,000 hectares and leave 700 hectares for buffer area, but they've cleared, and they're accusing them of land grabbing, closing creeks, and all of that. I don't know whether you're aware of that, what they, perhaps you guys are also doing to that effect. But beyond what they are doing, is this just them that are practicing this on this particular illegality, if you will, or there are other companies you've also found out in the oil and gas industry that are doing same? What I mean by doing same, registering companies and bringing their own people, short-chaining us in the process.
Yes, Geoffrey, you know, I have been, by the grace of God, the president of Pengassan for 5 years. And I've worked in Total Energies upstream for almost 2 decades now. So all my working career, I have been in the upstream industry of the oil and gas industry. So I have traversed different platforms. Jeffrey, there is no company today that is doing 1/10 of up to what Sterling is doing. I've been to a lot of locations in Egypt. I've been to locations manned by Chevron. I've been to locations manned by ExxonMobil. Of course, I work for Total Energies. I've crisscrossed the entire platforms of Total Energies. You will not see anything that is 10% close to what Sterling is doing today. Jeffrey, you are in Lagos. One of these evenings, I challenge you, just take a stroll to Etim Iyan Crescent. 80 million Christians in Victoria Island, just around Moriokuola. Just take a stroll there in the evening. Then just do the head count of the Indians that you are seeing trooping in and trooping out. I will tell you that if you take a particular sample, within 1 hour, you are going to count over 500 Indians. So the challenge we are having is this, Jeffrey. In the NCDMB Act, it's clearly stated that no foreigner, no expatriate is supposed to do the job that Nigerians are doing. It's stated there. It's even stated that even if Nigerians cannot do that job, and you bring in expatriate to do it, that there must be Nigerians that will understudy that expatriate so that within 3 years, there will be knowledge transfer.
Mr. Sifo, no, because now that you've mentioned it, I have some reports about the activities I mentioned in Akwa Ibom, in their eastern and all of that, whether it's their exploration or the one they're building in terms of petrochemical company and fertilizer and all of that. But what I want you to speak to, and I want you to stay on it for a bit, it's a different thing for someone to come in. I find someone in my house without my permission. How did the person get into my house? You're supposed to use the door, which is the legal route to enter my house. So if I find you, I open my house and I find you, you're going to answer questions. Why I use that analogy is this. They couldn't have been doing what they are doing without some collaboration with the Nigerian authority one way or the other. So who should we be hammering on? Should it be Sterling Global, who you have alleged to carry out this illegality, or the Nigerian authority that is supposed to check them?
Yes, Sterling, Jeffrey, our job as unionists is a bit difficult in Nigeria because our institutions are weak. Sterling, if you go to a place like Ghana, if you go to a place like Angola, I can assure you that this cannot happen. So for us, first, Sterling has circumvented our process, number one. Then number two, I just said earlier that most of their quotas from our findings are coming from the Ministry of Interiors. That is where they give them a lot of this expatriate quota without following the rules. So we are holding accountable Ministry of Interior. We are also holding accountable Sterling on their own. But again, we are going to have a meeting on Tuesday. We have also called on the regulator that it is not sufficient for you to just tell us that, oh, no, it is the Ministry of Interior that is giving them quota. You have a responsibility in law. You have a responsibility to Nigerians to be able to go
now,
to
people is talking.
So we have a responsibility to Nigerians to be, you have a responsibility to Nigerians to be able to go to their platforms and carry out monitoring. So that is why we have been engaging NUPROC, we have been engaging NCDMB to tell them that you shouldn't just fold your arm. It is your responsibility to carry out monitoring across those platforms. We have raised an alarm, Jeffrey. We have said, we have challenged them that in all their production platforms, that in all their control rooms, that they are all manned by India. It's a challenge from us. So what we now expect the regulators to do, NCDMB, NUPROC, and in the case of gas, NMDPROA in their midstream, what we expect them to do is to now say, okay, let's go to their platform. We are ready. We are ready tomorrow morning to go to Kwale with the regulators and enter into the control room of these people. They are all Indians. See, the numbers are humongous. It is, we're not talking about 500, 600, 700. Their production is just less than 100,000 barrels per day. We have companies that are producing up to 300,000 barrels per day, and their operations up to 95 to 98% are manned by Nigerians. But just this one that they are producing less than 100,000 barrels, their operations are largely manned by India. So for us, Sterling is culpable, Ministry of Interior are culpable, then the regulators, they must be up in arm with their task. Even if Sterling go to Ministry of Interior and obtain expatriate quota, it is a function of NCDMB to come out and say, no, yes, you have gone there, but we are the ones. These are the rules. These are the laws. These particular jobs that you are doing, the processing, petroleum processing, for example, the control room operations are not supposed to be manned by India. Jeffrey, a secondary school leaver, somebody who has 5 credits, who did physics and chemistry in secondary school can be trained to man control room and carry out the functions effectively. These are not rocket science. It is done in other companies. So what is quite different in Sterling? So outside that as well, another issue we have with them is about the welfare of our members. If you go to Sterling, 90% of the Nigerians that are now working in Sterling are all contracted personnel. So they bring in Indians to man all critical positions. Then the Nigerians that they manage to hire to do other menial jobs are all contracted personnel. We have rules. This is not a banana republic. We have rules in Nigeria, and our rules must be obeyed.
So what we expect is a response from NCDMB, NUPRC, NNDPRA, Ministry of Interior that you've mentioned, and especially Sterling Global, which you've also mentioned, because I've heard their name a couple of places, and it's important they respond to some of these allegations. But in leaving this issue, because I wanted you to use it as to talk about every other maybe IOC in the industry. But how do we manage these situations such that it's not going to be perceived as Nigeria being hostile to investment now that we're looking for investors everywhere?
No, Jeffrey, it is not about being hostile to investment. Like as I have said, the 5 companies I mentioned earlier, Chevron, Total Energies, Shell, Ajip, now Oando, and ExxonMobil, that Seplat bought their JV operations. These 5 companies are responsible for producing about 90% of our crude oil production. You see that figure, you people analyze on a monthly basis that is being released by OPEC and NUPRC. These 5 companies produce up to 90%. But if you go to these 5 companies, Jeffrey, you are not going to see 1/10 of a number combined. If you add their total number of expatriates in these 5 companies, it is not up to 1/10 of the expatriates that you have in Sterling. Jeffrey, we have done our analysis. Most of these people, there are some things I may not want to say on national television. Most of these people, they are people that grossly are not qualified. Some of them did not even finish secondary school. Some of them did not, they don't have any skill whatsoever, but they bring them in and turn them into this country. Go and do your check. You can check from immigration, Jeffrey. I know that you do a lot of investigative journalism. If you check from immigration, you see that every Tuesday, we have close to 600 or 700 Indians that are coming to Nigeria through the various borders, and they are moved to Quota. Some are coming in, some are going out. That's when they do their crew change. So it is that terrible. So if we have 5 IOCs that have operated since 1950s and 60s, and these 5 IOCs, the total number of expatriates in these IOCs combined is not up to 1/10 of the expatriate that you have in Sterling oil. Then what that means clearly is that it is not because of lack of competence. What that means clearly is not because Nigerians do not have the wherewithal. I could tell you that today, like as I said earlier, the managing director of Shell, the biggest oil company in Nigeria, is manned by Nigerians. For several years. So for us, we want investment in the oil and gas industry, clearly. But if you want to invest, we have rules. Jeffrey, you've analyzed the PIA over time. PIA has spelled out the rules and the rule of engagement. We have the NCDMB Act. It has clearly spelled out the rule of engagement. So if you want to invest in Nigeria, you are welcome. But you must play in accordance with these rules, because Nigerians are out there looking for jobs. So for us, we are very determined to push this to the end. So that
on this,
they are not bigger than Nigerian rules and Nigerian laws. Yeah.
So in final on this particular issue, if nothing is done, is TUC going on strike? What is the next line of action to enforce what you believe is the right thing to do?
Yes, for us, it's very clear. We are having a meeting on Tuesday. A meeting is being called 3 p.m. on Tuesday by the Austrian regulator NUPRC. As of today, we don't have any doubt to doubt the competency and the transparency of Engineer Gbenga Komolafe. He has intervened in a lot of issues and he has been able to resolve it. We believe that the meeting of Tuesday will go a long way in resolving these issues. But if this issue is not resolved, Jeffrey, Pengasan will embark on a national strike. It is an issue that we strongly believe in. Our NEC in Pengasan has given us a marching order and that this issue must be resolved, no matter the means of resolving it. So if we cannot resolve it within a specific time frame, Pengasan will be going, will be calling out its members on national strike. And remember, Pengasan, we have over 90% of our members are involved in the operations in the upstream of the oil and gas industry. So government, we are calling government to take this issue very, very seriously. In fact, we are even helping government. There is nowhere in the world that this can happen, Jeffrey. I've worked in Angola, I've worked in Congo, I've worked in Gabon, I've worked in Aberdeen, I've worked in several countries. This cannot happen. So all we are saying is that government who wants to generate jobs for its citizens, government who are looking, the last time president came out, 774 jobs granted them, we were celebrating. But I will tell you that in sterling alone, we can generate even ×5, ×6 of such jobs that Nigerians can clearly do.
All right. So as I said, I'm hoping they will have something to say. I've listed everybody that has an answer, from agencies of government to the Ministry of Interior, down to Sterling Global themselves, because I've got some information as well. But let's move on to some other things I needed you to intervene on before I let you go. And that has to do with some of the challenges that Nigerians are facing. I'm sure you would have heard or come across that video of the lady, NYSC corps member, who is right here in Lagos, and she's been complaining about economic hardship, calling the president's name or describing the president's leadership with a certain word that, you know, some people disagree or agree over. I don't even want to go to all of that. But the truth is that the economy is biting hard. People are facing a lot of challenges. Sometimes we see labor or trade union or organized labor come out, then the other time they push back. Let me give you the situation that you are very aware of. Two issues. PMS prices is still high, but they are coming down gradually. The other one is electricity. Electricity is literally killing right now. Literally, I'm seeing people that are have-nots being migrated to Band A. And I'm wondering, why are you going to move these people who are just trying to get by to Band A? Literally, you're telling them no longer use of electricity. What is the Trade Union Congress specifically doing to ensure that it speaks for Nigerians beyond speaking for some of the things you talked about here?
Yes, Jeffrey, you know, in TUC, majority of our affiliates are senior staff association across the different sectors of the Nigeria of the Nigeria economy. So what we did was that, if you remember, Jeffrey, I was in this program severally when Naira was being floated ungodly, when devaluation was taking toll on us, and we started shouting. So this was our take from the beginning. If you check last year, January last year, we addressed a World Press Conference where we marshaled out 15 points that we think could be, the government could take on board and use in addressing some of these issues. See, what we are seeing today, Jeffrey, are symptoms of devaluation. That is the honest truth. And I think you know, I've listened to you, intelligent analysis that you give every now and then. The bottom line of our challenge today is actually devaluation. Today, Jeffrey, we are talking about things of public interest. How much in our respective homes, how much are we using now? If I want to buy a laptop, I was buying the laptop earlier on in 2022, let's say for 300,000 naira, the equivalent of, let's say laptop there was $400. So I will use the exchange rate to convert. Then I will buy a laptop. Today, with $400, I'm going to use 1,500. So in our respective homes, when we buy laptops, when we buy AC, when we buy television, when we buy refrigerator, these are biting us. Why is the cost of all these? Why has the cost gone up? The cost literally has gone up because of exchange rate. Again, today, the reason that the cost of PMS cannot come down beyond some certain range is because of exchange rate. We've said, if exchange rate before now was 450 naira to $1, and you deregulate the PMS, we would not be buying PMS for more than 300 to 350 naira to $1. So the devil in the detail, it's actually the exchange rate. Every other thing are symptoms of it. The electricity that is going up today, the telecoms that is going up. The telecom is going up because the people are telling you that the cost of buying diesel has increased. Why has the cost of buying diesel increased? Diesel has been deregulated for more than 10 years now. But before the devaluation of Naira, we were buying diesel for 300, 400 Naira or even less. But immediately Naira was devalued, diesel was now being bought for over 1,200. And now they tell you that the cost of their spare parts has gone up. The dollar component is the same. The dollar cost is the same relatively because their inflation is sub 5%. But what has not translated to the high cost today is actually the exchange rate. And that is why over the years, in the last 1 year and a half, it is the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria that has actually been championing the issue of the exchange rate. We have had not less than 5 press conferences. We have put some memorandum, some write-up together, submitted to the secretary to the government of the federation in the presence of the key ministers, the Minister of Finance and Minister of the Economy, Minister of National Planning. They were out there, and we spoke to this. So for us, that has been the devil in the detail. If you bring the exchange rate today down to 1,000 naira to $1, I will tell you that PMS that we are seeing today is going to be selling maybe somewhere around 500 to 600 naira per liter. So the real challenge is the exchange rate, and we must manage it carefully. I know you may ask me a question, that because Nigeria is an import-dependent country, so because we import literally everything, that's why the exchange rate has gone where it is today. We said no. The thing is this, we know that the 450 naira was being subsidized by government, yes, but all international institutions, if you listen to all of them, both international and local institutions, they all believe that our currency today is undervalued. They all believe that the naira...
Mr. Sifo, if I may come in for just a moment. Let's move to the part where we started towards the end, before we went on the break, that has to do with issues around advocacy and standing up for the people. With what has played out with the young lady that is the NYC core member, as I said, we haven't gotten a response as to official position of the NYC, which she has alleged to have been threatening. Now, we saw her play the video of, or play the phone call conversation she had with the person. The lady on the other hand, which she says is one of the board or official of the NYC, literally speaking to her quite rudely, to be fair, saying that she should take it down, take it down. And she was asking, are you threatening me? And our worry is, can't I just speak my mind as a Nigerian? This is biting me. So the question I will ask you as a leader in organized labor, when you see some of these things that happen and some of the ways the government has responded to criticism, do you feel that Nigerians are beginning to look like defeated people?
Jeffrey, I think that clearly the constitution of our country clearly gave freedom of speech to every citizen. So for us in TUC, we are strongly advocating for freedom of speech. People should be able to air their views. But also, we should also note as well, it's just as if the fact that I can air my view, I cannot walk into your station, Jeffrey, and I will start raining abuses on you. Yes, you are not a public servant. But public servants should also understand that Nigerians are passing through pain. So even if we come out and abuse them, I've listened to the president. The president has said that, oh, you can come out and abuse me. So it should not just be in words, it should also be in action. So as citizens, when people are frustrated, when someone cannot eat, when you are doing 010 or at times even 000 in terms of meal, you will become frustrated, you will become agitated. So you could come out, right? Maybe the only place you could have your evening meal, it's going to Facebook to post some things there. I mean, hypothetically, that could be your meal for that evening. So they should also understand, they have to develop this resilience to understand that people are frustrated, people are hungry, people are tired. So if they decide to vent, I strongly believe that the government should see this should not personalize it and come after such individual. Imagine a young lady carrying out her NYSC function. What does she really have to do to bring that government? So it is about personal frustration that she has aired. So I think that the government should be, they have to persevere much more. They have to be much more tolerant, and they have to have this deep level of patience with Nigerians, because people are passing through a lot as it stands today. So that is my advice to government. They should take the back seat and allow some of all these, allow people to vent, because if you don't vent, you may not feel good at all. But also, overall, when we do this, we should also try to do it within the expected norm and with some level of decorum as well.
I know that in their rule book or whatever, I think they call it a bylaw. I was listening to one of the bylaw, reading the bylaw, said not to be rude to constituted authority. So it says any member, that's any core member, who is rude to a constituted authority shall be tried by the core disciplinary committee, and if found guilty, be liable to extension of service for a period not less than 30 days with half pay. Constituted authority here, I don't know, I don't think it was defined, whether it is the core of the NYC authority or the federal government or the state government. Maybe help us out on that particular one as to how the government should tackle this issue. And in speaking to that as well, Mr. Sifo, the issue around whether or not, let me ask you a direct question, whether or not this is going to be midterm by May the 29th. Do you really believe that President Bola Tinubu is fixing Nigeria and is going to be able to fix this country?
Yes. So in terms of the NYC lady and the rule in the book, I believe that if we have not read that book for a while, I've left NYC for
I'm sure donkey years ago,
for a very long time now. But if you check, there may be something about remuneration. I've learned that even the NYSC, as of today, they have not paid them the improved remuneration. So where there are rules, there are responsibilities as well. So the NYSC should also discharge that responsibility. They shouldn't bring their the rule to bear when it will bite the person, to use it to winch on people. First, NYSC, if they are paying those corps members, let's say 120,000 naira, 150,000 naira today, I'm not sure that particular corps member will be frustrated. So they should also carry out their responsibility as well, not to come with the full weight of the law to say you have broken this law, when on the other part, they are not fulfilling some obligations that they ought to fulfill. Then in terms of the performance, I think severally when I've met you on this platform, you've actually asked me this. Yeah, for me and for us in Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, as of today, there are some things that are quite positive that has happened. There are things, things about the student loan, things about the credit scheme, but this should be deepened further because we have done some investigation on that. It is not as deep as it should be, but it's a work in progress. It has started. So there are some positives, but there are a lot of other negatives. What Nigerians see today, is I'm going to bed. Do I have food to eat? Can I afford energy? Can I pay for clothing? Can I pay for housing? So the cost of all these has skyrocketed, and it is affecting Nigerians. So if you put this on a balance of scale, there is nobody that is in his own right senses after the first 2 years we rate this government high. Probably the last 2 years might be different, but the first 2 years there are a lot of gaps that need to be fixed and needs to be addressed.
So in your view, because let's talk about I'm still going to go back and put that responsibility on organized labor. I know I've engaged you on this particular issue, and you say we're not giving you, by you and I mean organized labor, the much credit that you deserve when it comes to what you've done. You pointed out your role as trade union or Nigerian Labour Congress and organized labor to bring about the refineries in Warri and Port Harcourt. But Nigerians still feel that the organized labor is really not doing enough to stand up for the people. When you hear that and you see what you're doing, what is it that you think Nigerians are saying you should do? We saw a protest, I think, in Cyprus, that they say 100,000 people. Perhaps people are expecting you to organize massive protests. What exactly do you think Nigerians are asking for? That they are feeling that organized labor has lost its touch and is now maybe complicit with the government?
Jeffrey.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Osifo.
So the president, by the grace of God, I'm also the president of Pengasan. So if you go to Pengasan today, go and ask Pengasan members how much we have affected their lives. Go and ask any Pengasan member on the street how much we have touched their lives. See, that is our primary responsibility, Jeffrey. Our primary responsibility is not to be opposition to government. I've said this over and over again. Our primary responsibility is to our members. We have members that pay dues to keep the center working. So our primary responsibility is to those members. So the way we work, my CWC, the way we work every day in Pengasan to make the lives of the people better. Go to NUPROC, go and ask them how their life has been better. Go to NMDPRA, go to Total Energies, go to Chevron, go to ExxonMobil. They will tell you that in the last 2 years, that practically their salaries in most organizations has been doubled. It is because of our effort. So now, first, our primary responsibility, Jeffrey, is to our members. So Nigerians, to fix Nigerians, you shouldn't just put all the heat on organized labor. No. When election is coming, you cannot go and collect 1,000 naira, 5,000 naira to vote for a candidate that you know that this candidate is a criminal. You know that this candidate over the years has done nothing outside talking. You will not go and vote for him against a professor, against a university lecturer, against a secondary school teacher who has lived a decent life over the years. Then when you finish it, sorry, let me just answer on this. When you finish it, you have elected people that doesn't have the right character to occupy where they are occupying. You will not say organized labor, go and kill. No. Organized labor, first of all, we have members in our constituency that we are responsible for. Each of the affiliates are working on a daily basis to get this done. So to fix Nigeria, there must be collectivism across board. Jeffrey, if you go to the US, I ask you today, I know you are very vast, but you may not be able to tell me the equivalent of NLC and TUC in the US. The reason is this. Because you have institutions that are functioning. The reason is because you have opposition parties that is functioning. So in Nigeria...
Okay, Mr. Asifo, your points are well noted. I can see where you're going to all of. So you say all of us should share the responsibility. Media, opposition, the people, not organized labor. Not a problem. But you should be at the vanguard. You should be at the vanguard of fighting the cause for the common man, because your workers will be directly affected first and foremost. First Osifo, Trade Union Congress President, thank you so much for staying with us this long. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir.